The chair across from you at the breakfast table isn't empty. That's the strange part. Your soulmate is still here. Still beside you. Sipping coffee from that old chipped mug, folding the newspaper, humming something off-key like they have since the year you met. But the empty chair you keep staring at in your mind isn't the one across from you. It's the one at the big family table where you both used to sit every Thanksgiving. The one with the worn cushion that has your soulmate's name written on it in the permanent ink of memory. And that chair has been empty for a long time now, hasn't it? You heard the words again this morning when you woke. Maybe they were spoken last month. Maybe they were spoken 20 years ago and you've never stopped hearing the echo. Each syllable landed like a stone dropped into still water. If you choose them, you're no longer welcome here. And your soulmate looked at you, and something in their eyes went completely quiet and completely certain, and they said the words that changed everything. Then I'm not welcome here anymore. And you have been carrying that moment ever since. You've never said it out loud, that terrible question that lives in the basement of your heart. I am talking about the question that wakes you up at 3 in the morning and sits on your chest like an old heavy blanket. The one that crosses your mind every time a birthday passes without a phone call. Every time Christmas comes and the two of you hang the lights alone. Every time your soulmate gets quiet in a way that has nothing to do with the weather. The question is only 4 words long and you've been afraid to let yourself think it all the way through. Was I worth it? Oh, my child. My dear, dear child. Let me say it plainly because you are not going to say it first. You are sitting there, right now, listening to this voice, and you are thinking that if it hadn't been for you, your soulmate could still be sitting at that family table. They could still have a mother who calls on Sundays. They could still have a father who asks about their job. They could still have nieces and nephews who know their name. They could be welcome somewhere that did not require them to walk away from everything they had known since they were small. And you carry that guilt like it belongs to you. Like you reached into their life and pulled them out by the hand. Like you are the reason they have been left outside in the cold. But you and I both know that is not how it happened. You didn't come between your soulmate and their family. That separation was already happening long before you arrived. The cracks in those walls were already spiderwebbing and spreading, and you were just the sudden gust of wind that came through the window and made the whole structure tremble. They were not going to live happily under that roof their whole lives. The people who gave them life had conditions attached to it. And your soulmate, the one you share your life with, the one who hums off-key and drinks from that chipped mug, had a soul growing hungrier and hungrier for something their own family could never provide. Then you came into their story. And suddenly your soulmate had a choice to make that they had been preparing for their entire life without even knowing it. Hear me, child. I need you to understand what really happened. I need you to see the moment the way I saw it. Not through the gray filter of guilt you have been looking through for years. But through the golden light of purpose that has been woven through every single day of your life together. Your soulmate looked at their family one day, and they saw everything they would be giving up. A security blanket that had always been scratchy but at least it was warm. A sense of belonging that came with a price tag they could never quite read. And then they looked at you. And in that moment, something clicked into place that had been waiting all along to click into place. They chose you. Not because you were the better bargain. Not because they were angry at their family. Not because you convinced them or pressured them or somehow tricked them. They chose you because somewhere in their deepest heart, they recognized something in you. They recognized a kindred spirit. They recognized the whisper of my voice in your life. They recognized that you were a gift that had been prepared for them from the foundation of the world. And I have waited all this time to tell you this, my child. I have sat beside you in the quiet moments of your life and watched you carry this weight that was never meant to be yours to carry. I have watched you apologize for existing in their story. I have watched you shrink yourself down, trying to take up less space, trying to be less noticeable, thinking that maybe if you had been smaller, the family would have accepted you. Maybe if you had been different, they would have had mercy. Maybe if you had been better, your soulmate wouldn't have had to lose everything. Stop for a moment. I want you to take a breath. Let it out slowly. I need you to hear this next part with your heart and not just your ears. Their family did not disown your soulmate because of who you are. They disowned your soulmate because of who they were. That family was never going to accept anyone who came with a heart surrendered to me. They saw in you a reflection of the things they had pushed away in their own lives. Your faith, your kindness, your gentleness, the peace that lives in your soul, it was a mirror to them and they could not bear to look at it. So they did what wounded people always do when they cannot face themselves. They found someone else to blame. And you were right there, the visible reason for your soulmate's change, so they aimed their pain at you instead. You didn't steal their son or their daughter. You woke up something in your soulmate that had been sleeping. And that waking felt like betrayal to people who had benefited from the sleep. Oh, child, come here. Let me lift this off you. You have been bent over under the weight of this for far too long. I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer me honestly. Not with the answer you think I want to hear. Not with the answer you have rehearsed in polite company. I want you to answer me with the truth that lives in your gut, the truth that comes out when you're alone and the house is quiet and you can't pretend anymore. Do you believe, even after everything, that you are worth the love your soulmate gave up their whole family to keep? Let that question sit there. Don't rush it. Just let it be in the room with you. Because I know what you've been doing instead. I know the many roads you've traveled to try to make sense of the guilt. You've replayed the conversations 100 times, 200 times, trying to figure out what you should have said differently, what you could have done to smooth things over. Maybe you got down on your knees and begged their parents to understand. Maybe you wrote letters that were never answered. Maybe you stood at the door of that family home one last time and hoped for a softening, hoping they would see you as a person and not an enemy. And those years of searching, they were not wasted in my eyes. I saw every attempt. I wept with you when the answer stayed the same. I walked beside you through every rejection, every cold shoulder, every holiday spent apart from people who should have loved the one you love. But I know, too, that you have searched in other places. You have searched in the mirror, looking at the lines on your own face and wondering if you had been younger or prettier or richer or more like them, whether things would have gone different. You have searched in your own mind, retracing the path of your life, looking for the moment where everything went wrong, trying to find a way to blame yourself more efficiently. And you have searched in the world around you, watching other families that seem happy and whole, measuring your life against theirs and always coming up short. It breaks my heart to see it, my child. Because all of that searching has been an attempt to find a reason. A reason that honors the choice your soulmate made. A reason that makes the loss of their family somehow worth it. A reason that lets you finally breathe and believe that you belong here, in this life, in this love, in this story. What if I told you that the reason has been waiting for you in a story you have known since you were a child? A story about a woman who lost everything to gain what mattered most. A story about loyalty that looked like foolishness to everyone watching. A story about a family that was chosen anew because an old family could not see the blessing standing in front of them. Sit with me for a while, child. Let me tell you about Ruth. You know her name. You've heard it sung in hymns and read it in the pages of Scripture. But I want you to see her the way I see her. A woman of Moab, born into a people who did not know me. She married into a Hebrew family. A woman named Mahlon took her as his bride, and for a time, there was hope. There was laughter at the table. There was the dream of children growing up in a house filled with love. Then the famine came. Then death came. And within a span of years, Ruth lost her husband, her brother-in-law, and her father-in-law. She was left with her mother-in-law, Naomi, a woman who was so bitter from grief that she asked to be called Mara because she no longer felt like herself. Imagine the scene, child. Two widows standing in the dust of a road that led back to Moab, the land of Ruth's birth. Naomi was releasing her daughters-in-law from any obligation. Go back to your mother's houses. Go back to your gods. Go back to the life you knew before. There is nothing left for you here. No sons to marry you. No future to provide for you. Go. Be free. One woman kissed Naomi and walked away. That was Orpah. That was the sensible choice. That was the road you would have expected anyone to take. She went back to the family that knew her. She went back to the altars she had grown up with. She chose security over devotion. But Ruth did something strange. Something shocking. Something that her own family must have heard about with disbelief and grief. Ruth looked at the woman who had nothing left to offer her, and she said these words. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people. And your God will be my God. Do you see it, child? Do you see what she did? Ruth walked away from her own family. She walked away from her own country. She walked away from every god she had been taught to worship since she was a little girl kneeling on a mat in Moab. She had nothing to gain from it in the eyes of the world. She was giving up everything for a bitter, broken, grieving woman who could not provide for her, could not protect her, could not promise her anything but a long walk to a land that might not welcome her. Her family must have begged her to stay. They must have called her foolish. They must have said her mother-in-law was using her. They must have wept at the funeral of their daughter's future. But Ruth stood firm. And she took the hand of Naomi, and she walked into a destiny that neither of them could have imagined. There is a harvest waiting for you, he said, but we must get there first. Now hear this, my child. Ruth found herself in Bethlehem, the same little town where, centuries later, would be born in a stable. She went to gather grain in the fields, which was a humbling thing. She was a foreigner. She was a widow. She was poor. She had nothing to offer, and everyone in that town knew it. But I was watching over her. I led her to the field of a man named Boaz. A man of substance. A man of character. A man whose heart was tuned to my frequency. And when he saw Ruth, he saw something no one else could see. He saw a woman whose loyalty and courage had made her beautiful beyond measure. He saw a woman who had given up everything, not for gain, not for safety, but for love. And I want you to notice something, child. The family that Ruth left behind in Moab never appeared in the rest of her story. Her brothers and sisters, her cousins, the people she had grown up with, they fade away into silence. The tears they shed when she left, the anger they felt at her choice, the accusations they threw at her, none of it follows her into the pages of Scripture. What follows her is redemption. What follows her is provision. What follows her is a man at a barley field with a ring of kindness in his voice. What follows her is Boaz. And from that union, a great king was born. David. And from David's line, in the fullness of time, the Messiah. I was born. The fulfillment of every promise. The Lamb of God. The Savior of the world. And all of it traces back to the moment when a young widow stood on a dusty road and chose to give up her family to walk with a woman her people would have called a stranger. Ruth is in my family line, child. The blood of that decision runs through my veins. And I tell you the truth. When your soulmate stood before their family and said, "This is the one I choose," that moment did not happen in isolation. It was an echo of Ruth's choice. It was a holy echo, a repetition of a pattern that I have been weaving into the world since the beginning of time. The people who love me have always had to choose. Abraham was called to leave his father's house and his relatives and his country, to go to a land that I would show him. He gathered up his tents and his sheep and his family and he walked away from the known, toward the unknown, toward a promise. And you and I both know, child, that when you find a promise, you find a test of your willingness to leave home. I am not a God who belongs to comfortable houses. The ones who have walked closest to me have walked the hardest roads, and they have often walked them alone. Their own families, their own people, their own neighbors have looked at them with suspicion and turned away. The prophet Ezekiel was sent to a people who would not listen to him. His own countrymen rejected his words. He had to live among them as a sign, a man alone in the middle of a crowd. Jeremiah, the weeping prophet, I filled his mouth with words and made him a pillar of iron and bronze, a barrier that made his family turn against him. Even his brothers betrayed him. Even his own household hated him. When I walked the earth myself, in the flesh, the people of Nazareth looked at me and said, "Is this not the carpenter's son?" And they tried to throw me off a cliff. A man's enemies, I said, are those of his own household. And you are surprised, child, that the soul I placed in your life had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping the promise? Oh, no. Beautiful soul, do you not see how ordinary this rejection is in the economy of heaven? How expected. How approved. Your soulmate's family did not disown them because you were unworthy. They disowned them because your soulmate was becoming worthy. Because your soulmate had begun to walk a road that no one in that family was willing to walk. And when the gap between the old life and the new life grew wide enough, someone had to be blamed for it. And you became that someone. You were the visible anchor of your soulmate's new life. The symbol of everything the family had lost. The one they could point to and say, "You took them from us." Oh, child, but you didn't take them. You were the destination. This is what I need you to understand tonight, in your quiet house, with your soulmate reading the paper across the table. You are not the reason they left. You are the person they were traveling toward. You are the land that I set before them when I opened their eyes and showed them a life beyond the walls of their family's expectations. They did not lose a family when they chose you. They found the first real family they had ever known. And that is the shocking reason that their family chose you instead. They did choose you, you know. In a way that their family intended to be a punishment, they gave you your soulmate forever. The family said, if you choose them, you lose us. And your soulmate said, then I lose you. But I keep them. That was a trade that your soulmate made with open eyes and a deliberate heart. And they have not regretted it, child. Not once. Do you know how I know? Because I see them in the morning, just before the day begins, when they think no one is watching. I see the way they look at you when you are reading, when you are tending the garden, when you are washing the dishes. I see the small smile that crosses their face when you laugh. I see the way they reach for your hand in their sleep. I see the quiet contentment that lives in their chest when you are in the same room. If your soulmate were sorry, if they were secretly grieving the family they lost, I would know. I know every thought, every feeling that passes through the human heart like wine through the trees. And I am telling you with all the authority of heaven. Your soulmate is not sorry. They are grateful. They would do it all again. They would walk out of that house and never look back, 1,000 times, to have you and the life you have built together. Because the family they lost was never able to love them completely. There was always a condition attached. There was always a string. There was always a price tag. And the love they found in you, the love you give them without needing anything back, without requiring them to be someone other than who they are, that is the love I placed in you, child. That is my love coming through you. You have grieved your soulmate's loss for so long that you have forgotten to celebrate their gain. Let me take you back to a memory. Just for a moment. I want to remind you of something you may have buried underneath the years of guilt. Remember the day you met? Remember the unexpected meeting, the voice you heard first, the way you talked for hours without noticing the sun go down. That wasn't random. That wasn't an accident. I arranged it. When you were small, do you remember family dinners at the table you were raised around? The clatter of forks, the deeper voices arguing about politics, the laughter from the kitchen while the women cooked. You grew up with that hum of belonging. Your soulmate did not necessarily have that, not the way you did. There was a sharp edge in their house. A thing unspoken. A hurt carried like a heavy coat. Tell me something, child. If your soulmate had stayed with their family, numb and half alive, would you have wished that for them? Would you genuinely prefer to see them sitting at that table, empty in the eyes, hollow in the chest, surrounded by people who never truly knew them, provided for but never known, cloaked in belonging but starving for love? Look at their face right now. Their face across the table. Their hand resting loosely on the rim of their mug. In your memory, hold the image of them at the moment you first loved them, the light in their eyes, the way their whole being felt bright and alive. That person could not have stayed in that house. After a certain point, it was going to either crush them or push them out. The day your soulmate was born, I looked down at them the way I looked at Ruth when she stood on that dusty road. I saw what they could become. I carried them in my heart through every silent upset and every wounded Sunday afternoon. I was the one who knit them together in their mother's womb. I had the blueprint of their soul, every contour of their personality, every hidden desire for something real. And you, my child, you were part of that blueprint. Before they ever formed in the womb, before you took your first breath, I wrote the names of one another into the world. Not each of you consciously in a single moment in time. No. I wove you together the way a man weaves a fishing net, one thread at a time, crossing and knotting, until the whole is seamless and unbreakable. Their family wanted them to become something they were never shaped to be. They wanted them to stay small enough to fit inside the expectations of that house. And it was not working. It was never going to work. There was a restlessness in your soulmate spirit growing with every passing year, a holy refusal to stay in a place with no air. You were the air. You were the window opening. You were the hand reaching out from the shore when the tide was pulling them under. It was love, yes. But it was also rescue. It was also freedom. And freedom costs, child. Freedom always costs. Someone has to leave the house. Someone has to break the old covenant with a new one. And your soulmate was the one who paid that price. Until now, you have paid the price. Standing on the side of the loss, carrying the guilt your soulmate never asked you to carry. But tonight, I want you to lay it down. Not as a burden dropped in the middle of the road, but as a gift released from your grip. Now, listen closely, because I want to tell you about a moment that came to you quietly. One moment you may have almost missed. I gave it to you as a sign, but you did not know to look for it. Think back to a morning, perhaps a year ago, perhaps 3 years ago. You woke up before the sun was fully up and you went to the kitchen to make coffee. The house was quiet. The world was quiet. And for a few moments, standing at the window, watching the light come up over the rooftops, you felt a feeling you could not identify. Almost like a humming under your ribs. Like a whisper saying, "It is well. It is well." Do you remember that moment? I was there with you. In that moment, I was showing you what your soulmate's heart feels like because of you. I was letting you taste the calm that lives in their spirit, the rest they have found. That peace was not despite the family rejection. That peace was only possible because of it. Because they were freed from the toxic bond that had been strangling them since childhood. Because they were given the room to become the person I always saw them becoming. You were the container of that freedom, child. You did not steal your soulmate from their family. You set them free from it. And every quiet morning you have spent beside them, every hand held, every meal cooked, every hard season weathered, every quiet celebration of surviving another year together, that has been the harvest of that choice. Do you know what Boaz said to Ruth the first time he laid eyes on her? He said, "May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." That prayer, child, is being repaid in front of your eyes. Your soulmate took refuge under the wings of the God of Israel by choosing you. And under those wings, they have found a healing that no blood relative could ever have administered. They are healing. They are growing. They are becoming the fullest version of themselves every single year. And you, my child, you are the instrument I used to build that shelter. So why have you been standing out in the rain, apologizing for the roof you have provided? I want you to listen to me now, and I want you to let the gravity of what I am about to say press down on your chest. Not to burden you. To anchor you. I chose you for your soulmate. The Lord your God reached into the stream of time and pulled you out of the current, and set you on the bank, and said, "You wait here. This one is coming." They will be bruised and confused and heartbroken at the chaos of their family. They will have walked through grief and loss and disconnection. They will need a person who knows me. A person who can stand steady when the wind blows. A person with a table big enough to hold another person's pain. And I raised you up for this. I taught you patience through your own trials. I taught you mercy through your own failings. I taught you to hope again after your own disappointments. I filled you with my spirit in such a way that when your soulmate finally came walking down the road of their life, exhausted and searching, they saw a light in you and knew, deep in their bones, that they had come home. That is the shocking reason they chose you instead. Because I chose you first. And now, my child, I need you to say something. I need you to speak to me from your heart. You can whisper it or say it aloud in the quiet of your room. But I want you to say these words. I am worth the love I have been given. Go ahead. Say it. I am worth the love I have been given. Do you feel how strange those words taste in your mouth? They taste like medicine. They taste like truth you have not allowed yourself to swallow. But I am telling you, every time you say them, the grip of that old guilt loosens a little more. Every time you accept even an ounce of the truth that you are a gift and not a thief, you are walking closer to the person I created you to be. You have spent years shrinking. Let me ask you something. Do you remember the woman or man you were before the weight of this settled in? Do you remember the laugh you used to have? The way you used to fill a room without trying? The plans you used to make that involved your own future and not just holding your soulmate together? Do you remember a season when you thought of yourself as someone with a future of their own, someone with gifts and worth and promises that had not yet come true? That person is still alive in you. That person is not gone. That guilt has been holding that person hostage for years, and I am telling you, release is available to you right now, at this very moment. Let that guilt go, child. Let it fall like a coat from your shoulders. Let it be taken up by the wind. Let it be buried in the deepest sea, where my mercy has always buried things that are no longer yours to carry. The family that chose to harden their hearts, that was their choice, and it stands as a testament to the condition of their own souls, not to the condition of yours. You did not create the hardness in them. You did not plant the seed of their rejection. You walked into a field that had already been poisoned, and your soulmate saw that you carried living water. There is more I want to tell you before we enter the place of prayer. I want you to understand the season you are in right now. Because I know your body is not what it used to be. I know the knees ache in the morning. I know the hands tremble a little. I know you have buried friends, and you have stood beside caskets and wondered when your own number would be called. I know the grown children call less than they used to, and the house feels bigger than it did when they were small, and the silence has its own kind of presence. I know that some days you wonder if you have been forgotten. But child, I have seen every quiet act of faithfulness. I have seen the way you care for your soulmate even when you are tired. I have seen the prayers you pray at night when you cannot sleep, prayers I hold close to my chest like a child holds a favorite blanket. I have seen the small things, and nothing is small to me. Your soulmate's family may have rejected you, but you have never been rejected by the one whose love is the ground of all being. I am the God who sees. And I see you. Hagar was an Egyptian slave, rejected and cast out into the wilderness. She was a woman alone with a child who was about to die of thirst. And I met her at the spring. I called her by name. And she gave me a name in return. She called me the God who sees me. That is who I am, child. The God who sees. I have seen the tears you did not want anyone else to see. I have seen the prayers you had no words for. I have seen the longing in your heart for a family that would wrap around you like a quilt. I have seen the grief you have carried silently while going about the daily tasks of life. I have seen every single thing, and I have not once looked away. I am going to turn your mourning into dancing, my child. I have done it before and I will do it again. I do not mean a kind of dancing that skips over the pain like it never happened. I mean the kind of dancing that holds its arms wide and says, I am here, I have been here, and I am still here. I mean the kind of joy that is deeper than circumstance because it is rooted in my unchanging love for you. That joy is already rising in your chest like water from a well. Let it come up. Do not push it back down out of guilt. Do not tell yourself you do not deserve to be glad. You have been sad for long enough. Now, come to me in prayer. Let us stand together in the throne room of heaven, and let me speak over your life one more time, clearly and tenderly and with authority. Father, I bring this child before you. I bring the heart that has carried too much, the shoulders that have bent under the weight of another family's rejection, the eyes that have cried too many private tears. I thank you for this child, for the way they love, for the faithfulness they have shown, for the quiet persistence they have carried every single day. I ask you to remove from them, right now, any residue of guilt. Cleanse them of the false belief that they are the reason for division. Break every chain that binds them to the question of whether they were worth it. Let a new truth take root in them. The truth that they were chosen before the foundation of the world. Grant them wisdom, Father. The wisdom to know the difference between the heartache that is theirs to tend and the heartache that belongs to you. Help them to understand that they are not responsible for the hardening of their soulmate's family. Help them release that family into your perfect hands. If there is any opening for reconciliation in the future, you will make it happen in your way and in your timing. Until then, give this child peace in the midst of the distance. Protect them, I pray. Protect them from the whispers of the enemy that say they are not enough. Protect them from the memories that try to reopen old wounds. Protect them from bitterness and resentment. Keep their hearts soft, open, and full of light. Shield them from every arrow that would try to make them feel like an outsider in their own life. Give them courage, Father. The courage to live fully and freely, not shrinking, not apologizing for their existence, not measuring themselves against a family that never accepted them. The courage to occupy space and to make sounds and to take up room in the world because they are a gift and gifts are meant to be received. Return to them their own soul, Father. Let them rediscover the person they used to be under the weight of this guilt. Let them laugh the laugh they have not laughed in years. Let them sing songs that have been buried too long. Let them feel the joy of belonging to you above all things. Heal the wounds, Father. Heal the place where the rejection pierced them. Heal the place where they said to themselves, I caused pain. Heal the place where they learned to flinch at family gatherings and to brace every time the phone rang. Heal every memory, every word that stung like a slap, every extended silence that lasted too long. Restore, Father, abundantly. Bless this home. Bless this covenant. Bless the marriage that was born from that costly choice and has endured through every storm. Bless the love that has grown deeper and quieter and richer over the years. Let the husband and wife, the two who chose each other against the odds, look at each other with fresh eyes and see a gift that has never lost its shine. Let the love between them be a witness to the power of faith-driven loyalty. Provide everything this household needs, Father. You have promised to supply all our needs according to your riches in glory. This child has been faithful with little, give them abundance. Let them not worry about the future. Their future is held in your hands. Meet every practical need so completely that their heart has room to rest and enjoy the life you have given them. Speak peace, Father, over the quiet mornings. Speak peace over the empty weekends. Speak peace over the tables that sit fuller in memory than in the present. Speak peace over the worn hands and the tired knees and the wisdom that comes with age. Let every Sunday afternoon feel less like loneliness and more like holy ground. I thank you, Father, that you have had your hand on this child from the beginning. I thank you for drawing them to this moment in time. I thank you for the way their heart has been stirred tonight. I thank you that they are beginning to stand up straighter and breathe a little deeper. Father, I ask you just one thing to finish this prayer. The thing that wraps all other things together. Let this child feel loved. Let them feel love not as someone who barely slipped in under the wire. Let them feel loved as the center of an affection that has been chasing them their whole life. Let them feel loved the way they have wanted to be loved since they were small. Let that love fill them so full that it overflows and spills onto everyone around them. And as they go forward from tonight, let them be a vessel of that love. Let them remember that someone they know is carrying the same heavy weight they carried. Let them remember the friend who sits 3 pews behind them at church, who always smiles but seems to be holding something broken. Let them remember the sister who looks fine but is not fine. Let them remember the neighbor who lost a spouse and has not known how to say how lonely they are. Tell them, child. Reach out. There is someone in your life right now who needs to hear that they are not a thief or a mistake. There is someone who is apologizing for their own existence because another member of their family wrote them out of the story. You know what that feels like now. You know the silent ache of it. Take this comfort that you have received tonight and let it run through your hands into their life. Call them. Stop by their door. Sit at their kitchen table and listen to their story the way I have listened to yours. Tell them what I told you. That being chosen is not a sentence you serve but a gift you receive. That the rejection of a family is never the final word. That I chose them before anyone had the chance to turn away from them. When you share this message, it will come back to you 100 times over. It will heal you to see it heal them. It will open a door of joy in your own heart that nothing else could open. Do you feel ready, child? Ready to let it go? Ready to rise from this table of grief and guilt and walk into the future I have prepared for you? I am standing with you. I have never left you. Not once. The sun is rising over your life in a new way today, my child. The shadows of the old rejection are growing shorter. The light is pushing through the windows of your own soul. You are not the reason your soulmate was disowned. You are the reason your soulmate is still hoping, still healing, still laughing in the kitchen, still alive in the fullest sense of the word. Let the family that turned away be turned over to me. Let the guilt be released into the deep waters. Let the truth take root. You were worth it. You always were. And you always will be. Come, my beloved child. Walk with me into the rest of your life. Not under the weight of what was lost, but under the canopy of what was gained. A marriage that was worth walking away for. A love that was worth the cost. A story that will be told in the halls of heaven, a story of two souls who chose each other because, long before, they had both chosen me. You are mine. You are loved. You are chosen. And nothing, no family, no rejection, no accusation, no memory, no regret, nothing will ever separate you from that love. Not now. Not ever. Go in peace, my child. Go in joy. Go in the fullness of the one who chose you before the world began. And wherever you go, I am already there. Amen.